Taxstone has been tweeting and firing shots at Joe Budden for about a month now, but his latest set of tweets came about a week ago. I'm going to give you a lesson in weak men with strong personalities. Joe Budden, for instance, clear weak men only feels comfortable around stupid women or submissive friends. Putting up with ways you don't agree with is a form of Stockholm Syndrome. Ice and Ish somewhere crying to each other about Joe, but pulling up the podcast together and smoke hookah in solidarity. Now, if we're just being honest here, Taxstone comments aren't too far off in terms of Ice and Ish, because we just seen Ice on a podcast tell Joe, that's why I don't F with you, and that's why I don't talk to you.
We have a disagreement on Watch the Throne. I've always been on the other side of that.
The other side of what?
Watch the Throne is not a classic project.
I didn't like Watch the Throne when it first came out, but now it's
not a classic project. We were more happy that it was old shit, see? And that's why I don't fuck with you. That's why I stopped talking.
Trolling.
But the truth gets lost in translation when everybody looks at you like an obsessed hater. You see, after you go on a 2-week binge of tweeting about nothing but Joe Budden, all because he dedicated 30 seconds to you on the Gilly and Wallow podcast. But the truth gets lost in translation when everybody looks at you like an obsessed hater. You see, after you go on a 2-week binge of tweeting about nothing but Joe Budden, all because he dedicated 30 seconds to you on the Gilly and Wallow podcast.
Who gave you the game, though?
Rest in peace.
Taxstone.
Everybody did it, though.
Oh, so he said everybody. You can't.
Everybody that was trying to maneuver in the space. I mean, it started with Combat Jack for me.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, Combat was a legend.
Him and Pete is probably at the top of the start of where that list starts.
It did Taxstone.
Pete, Juan. Well, no, why you keep your naming workers. That's why we can't have the right conversation. You keep naming workers.
I mean workers.
I'm not a worker.
No, I said Taxstone gave you some game on the podcast.
He couldn't give me the game I was looking for because he was a worker. I was talking to the people running the network.
Who was running the network?
Combat Jack.
You lose credibility, Tax, when you go on a tangent and start hating a man who shouted you out multiple times and said free tax when nobody in the media was saying free tax. All because he went on a podcast and called you a worker when you was actually a worker. That's the problem with a lot of y'all, bro. Y'all rather go to that block with the same 30-day draws, flip the same Nick Bag and Reggie for the rest of your life instead of getting a 9-to-5 and trying to climb the corporate ladder, bro. Because apparently being a worker is worse than being a bum. But Joe finally responded back to the weak man comments from Taxstone, and it got ugly. Like, I'm embarrassed for Taxstone. Joe starts off his soliloquy and his ether by telling a story about the first time he went to go see Taxstone on his podcast.
And I'll have this conversation in a transparent manner, and I'll divulge some things that I've never divulged before, and then that will be the end of me speaking to Tax. When I came to do Tax's podcast, Tax had a gun on him, and then he passed that gun off to somebody, and then that person went and scurried to another room. I thought that was weak. I said to myself, why the fuck does somebody need a gun to do a podcast? And secondly, why do you need a gun to interview me? I'll allow a brief moment of silence right here so the audience can pick up on what's blasphemous about both of those statements anyway. You guessed it. Why do I even know that you have a gun on you if you got one?
This is Joe laying the groundwork before he addresses the weak men comments by Taxstone. Essentially, Joe telling that story is him trying to portray to the audience how reckless Taxstone was and essentially how scary Taxstone was. Meaning, if you have to have a gun on you while you do a podcast, then you're probably not living a life you should. Outside of Taxstone being weak and paranoid, I feel like Taxstone having that gun or passing it off in front of Joe also showed how reckless Taxstone was, and his attempt to intimidate and scare everybody around him. He always wanted to be the biggest, toughest guy in the room and will go through lengths to sort of prove it. And him passing that gun off before the interview started was just an intimidation tactic. Now, Joe also expounded on why he don't believe he's weak, and he believed that Taxstone is weak.
Then Charlemagne granted you an opportunity, and I watched you get sunned out. I thought it was super weak, but hey, to each his own. Either he totally lost his backbone, or now we both have scoliosis. But boy, did you get to shucking and jiving and dancing. I thought that was weak. I did. Then me and your man got it on around the corner. Shout out to him. Salute. You got to come up here still. And the very next morning, you was on Twitter divulging every single detail of that dance like you was fucking Lisa Evers. I thought it was weak.
Joe is referring to his fight with BZ. Apparently one of Joe homies snuffed BZ, and Joe and BZ had to get a fight in afterwards. Now, apparently Taxstone just knew BZ, but Taxstone and Joe, they didn't know of each other or know each other. But Taxstone and BZ were friends. So after BZ told Taxstone about what happened, instead of Taxstone keeping it into the streets, Taxstone actually got on Twitter and let off close to 24 tweets about that one fight.
I did. But that's not even the weakest part. You brought a gun to a benefit concert. To whose benefit? You pulled that little gun in a small, crowded room, endangering the lives of moms, dads, uncles, all of the people in there. I thought it was weak. You murdered a good man and you shot a good woman. Shout out to her. You online stalked Troy Ave for years. For years. I just don't know real niggas to move that way, but hey, maybe you was making up your own rules. But I thought that was weak too. I did. Then you pulled that gun out and a nigga took the gun from you and chased you all around the fucking venue. My nigga, I don't know what definition we going by, but we clearly have two very different definitions of weak. You soft, fragile, insecure ass nigga.
I've personally have had my critiques of Joe Budden, but that man ain't say not one lie. Let's be real, bro. Taxstone comes from this crop of street dudes who think they the biggest, baddest, toughest dudes in the world and who try to prove that everywhere they go. That's what Taxstone did, bro. Taxstone was trying to intimidate, bully his way through the industry, and he finally found somebody he couldn't bully or intimidate in Troy Ave, and, you see where he's at right now. You see, people give Taxstone credit for being a shooter, for killing his op, but people don't tell the story of how Taxstone got his gun taken from him, and he ran. He got beat up and ran. So Joe is absolutely right, bro. Like, if Taxstone is calling Joe weak, then what do we call Taxstone? Super weak. Now, Joe moved on and started speaking about the quote-unquote workers comment and why he called Taxstone a worker.
And then you got the nerve to be mad that I went on Gilly and Wallow's podcast and said that my inspiration was Combat Jack and that I didn't pull much inspiration from you because you are a worker. You niggas be sensitive and mad at my honest truths. Rest in peace to Combat Jack, iconic legend. It's my man and I miss him. But that's who I was talking to. And you were indeed a worker. You were working for Loudspeaker. That's back when y'all was running around saying that y'all got, what was y'all so happy about? 15% of the ad money that y'all was getting when Loudspeaker was taking 30 to 40% off the top. Y'all was excited about it. That screamed worker to me. You were a worker for Loudspeaker. You are a worker for depopulation. You're now a worker for the state. You are a worker for Black Death.
Yo, let me find out Chris Monroe was living up to his name of Chris Diddy. Yo, if I find out that Chris Monroe was really giving the Brent Idiots, the Reed, and Taxstone podcast 15% of the ad money and keeping 30 to 45% off the top and putting like the other 30 back in the business, yo, Chris Monroe is a demon, bro. That right there is legit highway robbery, bro. Because the Reed and Brent Idiots at that time were both doing like 300,000 plays on SoundCloud and other Spotify platforms per episode. Taxstone was probably at like the 100K mark. So if Chris Monroe is getting ad money for those huge podcasts and giving them 15%, yo, that's highway robbery right there, bro. Joe was also right when he said that Taxstone was a worker for Black Death, because he was, right? Because he instigated, provoked, and ultimately because he instigated and provoked, somebody ended up dead at his hands. So that's one thing. And, and I'll even go further by saying, bro, that Taxstone being a worker for Black Death disqualifies him from trying to come online and being the realest nigga ever, right? Because Taxstone is one of those street dudes who are just obsessed with being the realest nigga ever, right? They come online with the pseudo quotes and the real nigga game and, the bravado, when in fact, bro, no, like they're peons, right? They're weirdos, right? They're dweebs, right? They're responsible for Black trauma, Black death, and chaos in our communities, bro, right? Like, how do you come online and try to give pseudo game and try to give these pseudo quotes of motivation and do it for the streets and do it for the real ones, bro, when you're responsible for killing a real one? when you're responsible for causing death, when you're responsible for chaos because you just want to just stop harassing somebody, because you wanted to hop online and provoke a situation with somebody who used to be cool with for some clout.
It's now over for the tax brought the streets to podcasting. No, no, no. The streets took you from it. It's a bitter, bitter taste having to watch niggas like me and Gilly and Wallow and Nori and Math have all of this success out here while you post these 2016 polls.
Joe isn't wrong. Like, Taxstone is actually a hater. Like, Taxstone seeing Math Hoffa podcast doing well, and while Taxstone is in a jail cell, he's tweeting, oh, Math Hoffa is buying views on his podcast. Math Hoffa podcast numbers is fake, trying to discredit that black man for doing what he's doing.
And why do you ask niggas for favors that you feel this way about? I think that's weak too. All of you niggas is fragile, bitch ass niggas. And had you said any of this when you was free, you know we could have danced around the corner. You know that. You know that already. So I hope this is a teachable moment for many out there. Stop listening to these loser niggas, man.
Now, Joe will top off the Taxstone ether with a little razzle-dazzle, good old New York, suck mom.
Yeah, Tax could suck my dick.
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay, all right, easy.
Get all the friends. Easy why? Easy why? What are you gonna do?
Really?
What's somebody gonna do? Yeah, I don't fuck with these niggas. I hate that shit.
I got my critiques for Joe, but at some point, bro, you can't deny the truth. He spit 100% facts, in a soliloquy. At some point, Tax, you got to look within, bro, and ask yourself, yo, why don't nobody mess with me? And it can't just be, oh, listen, man, I'm just a real one, bro, so the fake niggas can't scam me. No. If after a while you look around and everybody got an issue with you, then maybe you're the fake one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this, man. All right, whose side are you guys on, Taxstone or Joe Budden? While you guys are here, man, click on the video somewhere on my screen to find out why this dude is accusing Blueface of hopping in his DMs. Click on the video to find out what I'm talking about, right? I'm going to see you guys in this video. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.